Ghana's military leadership, especially representatives from the ministerial level and the Foreign Affairs Ministry, are this afternoon engaging with some members of Parliament and also Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, as well as the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament over Ghana's deployment of troops to Niger. Ghana is one of the countries that last week's ECOWAS meeting, which resolved to impose further sanctions on Niger and also issued an order for the deployment of troops. But there has been resistance from both civil society and opposition groups on Ghana's contribution of the troops to the ECOWAS standby force. Now, Defense Minister Dominic Nitio and other military leaders, we of course know, were briefed and of course had some engagements today on Ghana's deployment plans to Niger. Well, I was in Parliament a while ago monitoring that event, and here are excerpts of what transpired moments ago.
We're not too sure if that is also part of today's engagement, but you can see them filing through and walking into that meeting. So we'll be giving you live updates as and when we have them, but the IGP in your shot now, Dr. Kumato, they're walking into that meeting. We're not sure what the essence of the meeting is, but we will definitely keep you updated. This is the Joy News channel, and you saw also the Defense Minister, Dominic Nitio, declining to speak to us after that meeting with the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee. We're waiting to see what the official briefing will be from this joint meeting that has been sitting throughout the early parts of today to where we are now. We have the Interior Minister as well, also present here in Parliament, and we're waiting to see what the official briefing is. But if you're joining us now and you're watching us on the Joy News channel, I must update you that Parliament is indeed having a meeting with the National Security Minister and also the Defense Minister. What we do know is that following President Akufo's decision to also deploy that team, the Ghanaian troops, to join the ECOWAS force, there's been concern from the ranking of both the Defense and Interior Committee and also the Foreign Affairs Committees. The reason for which we had the National Security Minister, the Defense Minister, Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister also joining the meeting throughout the day. And what we do know so far is that there's been a concern about some of the constitutional requirements. Let's see if Honorable Andy Apiakubi will say a word. Hello, Honorable. Okay, he's not saying, he's not sharing a word with us, so we'll definitely be getting some updates shortly. I guess the agreement among some of the committee members was that the members must desist from making some media comments. I don't know if that's or the official arrangement and what they have all come to agree on, but you can see live in your shots there the IGP just walking in a few minutes ago to engage the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament. There are also representatives from the Foreign Affairs Committee there in your shot, as you see on the Joy News channel. Now, we must also indicate at this point, and I see there in my shots the Honorable Samuel Kucheto Ablakwa. Probably we might get a word from him to see what the fallouts from that meeting has been. But if you're watching the Joy News channel, we need to update you that the decision by the government of Ghana to opt for what it is that the president has decided on for the ECOWAS meeting is subject now to some discussions here in Parliament. We're waiting for the official briefing. At least if the majority side would not comment, as you've seen in the short, probably we'll get to some members of the minority side to say a few words to us. The Inspector General of Police also making an appearance today. We're waiting to see what the outcome of that engagement is. So if you're watching us now and you can see us live on your television, just stay with us here on the Joy News channel. We'll bring you some updates shortly. You see some other security chiefs also around. We're waiting to see what the briefing will be. So there they go in, moving into that briefing. I'm sure that it's all part of the series of engagements that will be happening as far as this whole stabilization force issue is concerned. The concern for some of the MPs, and I must run you through that throughout the morning, has been what the position of the Constitution is. Article 40 of our Constitution talking about the fact that in our dealings with other nations, the government shall, first of all, that's Article 40, the requirements 40A, promote and protect, as the constitution is directing, the interest of Ghana. The B also talks about seeking the establishment of a just and equitable international economic and social order. Then the C, which is subject to the concern that the MPs on the committee have been raising, has been about promoting respect for international law, treaty and obligation. And here's what we need to point you out to: the fact that there's need for our country to opt for the settlement of international disputes by peaceful means. So that has been the concern of the MPs on the committee today. But the majority side appears to be raising concerns about the need to adhere to the principles enshrined in all, as the case may be, the aims of, first of all, the Charter of the United Nations, also the Charter of the Organization of African Unity, the Commonwealth, and there's also the last provision, that the Treaty of the Economic Community of West African States. So there you see it, the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, walking out of the meeting. Honorable, you're live on Joy News. How did the meeting go today?
Well, we have decided that we will not disclose the content of the discussions and the outcome of the meeting. So I will just say that it's been a good meeting for now.
From my monitoring, I see that Article 40 has come up. Legal issues and concerns, as of course your other ranking on this other side, the chairperson of the committee, has been raising. Is Article 40 of concern to you as well as the minority?
The entire legality of anything that will happen must be of concern to all of us as lawmakers. And at the end of the day, it's about our national interest.
If that's anything to go by.
Article 73 and Article 40 is very clear.
Yes.
Our national interest must be at the center of any decision. Our national interest. And don't forget, Article 40C encourages peaceful resolutions of matters.
But if you go to D, we are to adhere with whatever decision the sub-regional body ECOWAS.
So as I've told you, the matters are very sensitive and delicate, and that's why.
But I'm talking about law, because I heard that come up on the committee. That this is a matter of law. It will come up strongly at you as the matter.
As you do know, consultations are going to continue on this matter. This is a very sensitive matter, and since we have a collective agreement that we will not divulge the details at this point, I think that we should go with that. But as time progresses, I'm sure that we are going to have.
How will you diffuse the legal argument? This is not about what transpired, but we know that.
So thank you very much.
Well, so that's the Honourable Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa just walking off in your shots there. We're still monitoring that development for you here from Parliament House, where of course we know that for today, and if you're watching the Joining channel, we need to update you that the joint meeting of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament and also the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament just had their meeting, and at that meeting we had the National Security Minister, we had the Defence Minister Dominic Nitiwu, who you saw in your shots there. He wouldn't comment, he wouldn't speak, because the gentleman's agreement, as we understand from Parliament, is that they will not comment on the sensitive issues, and obviously it borders on the deployment of the military to join that ECOWAS force, which will be deployed by ECOWAS to stabilize the situation in Niger after the presidential guard toppled the democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum. That meeting lasted for more than an hour today. I must state that the chairpersons of the Defense Committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee, were all present. The Honorable Patrick Yalboama there also declining to make any comment on the meeting today, but we're still waiting to see what else will come of this meeting. Just a couple of minutes ago as well, the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, George Akufo-Dampare, also walking into that meeting. We'll be going there briefly just to, and you can just come along with me as we take you back to that place where, of course, that meeting is happening. But you heard from the Honorable Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa indicate and point out to you that after today's meeting and the meeting that was held today, the firm decision has been made to tone down on media commentary. But here at Joy News, we have picked up that the main concern for these joint committee has been about Article 40 and what the article says about the legality and what the requirements are per our laws. Now, the requirements per the law is that if Article 40 is anything to go by, then it means that the president is helpless in terms of adhering to what the constitutional requirements are. Now, we know that the constitutional requirements will be that we must, of course, opt for whatever decision that ECOWAS has made. There is also the minority position indicating that if you go by Article 40, there is a requirement at C, 40C, which says that Ghana must opt for a resolution of international dispute by a peaceful means. That's what the Article 40 of the Constitution is saying. So that's where the minority stands to say we don't need the deployment of the military force, but the majority also sticking to what 40D points out, the fact that whatever decision the African Union will take, whatever decision the United Nations will take, and the ECOWAS will take, we need to abide by that. And what's been the requirements or decision of the African Union? The African Union a couple of days ago issued a statement backing and affirming their position that they would stand ready, shoulder to shoulder, to support the regional body, the sub-regional body, ECOWAS, in terms of whatever decision that will be made. So if ECOWAS says they're deploying or activating their standby force, the decision is African Union will go with that. And if we're to translate that to what it is that our constitution is talking about, then it indeed means that, of course, we would have to adhere to that. So that's what's been happening here at the Parliament House, and of course we are at the West Wing, where, of course, the decision will be made. We'll be hearing from members of the committee shortly who would probably speak to the media. The gentleman's agreement is not to make a comment, but we'll still be around giving you the very latest and of updates that you need. Bless Ogan reporting from Parliament House. Keep you updated. This is our special coverage of that meeting between the Defense Minister, the National Security Minister, and also members of the Defense and Foreign Affairs Committee, live from Parliament.
Also, we're asking that question, how should Ghana approach the situation? We'll bring to you shortly the analysis on this. But first, though, the impact of the crisis is being felt across the SAP region, with hundreds of trucks delivering onions to Ghana being blocked at the Benin border. Nana Aljima of our Foreign Affairs Desk is delving deeper into the matters there.
The Kumato onion market is the biggest in the Ashanti region. At least 30 trucks, each carrying about 330 bags of onions, are offloaded at the beginning of every week. On a typical day at the market, 5 trucks are offloading onions at the market. Truck driver Mohammed Salisu was stranded carting onions on the border for a week. He says it took intervention of Ghana's embassy to the landlocked country to get access for the trucks bound for Ghana.
Obio 11, 10, Missouri and Okore, 1 week.
Some trucks have been on the border for 10 to 12 days. I stayed there for just a week.
Masajai. As Obiano, just a year, your friend is Ghana ambassador. We had
to call the Ghana ambassador's office, who sent a delegation to the border. The ambassador also came the following day to resolve the issue.
Mumuni Abdullahi, who was bound for Niger, had to divert his route to Nigeria to get onions after being stranded at the Benin borders for days.
We spent days on the border, so we had to change our destination to Nigeria to get some onions.
Video footage available to Joy News shows hundreds of trucks carting onions stranded at the border. The content of the trucks are already rotten away. Some of the trucks are offloading the onions for local traders. About 100 trucks expected to deliver onions to the Kumato market are locked up in Niger for many days. Each truck is transporting at least 300 bags of onions at the cost of 1,500 cedis each. An estimated 45 million cedis worth of onions remain locked up at the border. For fear of terrorist activities at the Niger-Burkina Faso borders, the route is not an option for the truck drivers. Mohammed Amidou, early morning, received 350 bags of onions he had imported. After opening the sacks, most of them were rotten, forcing him to sell the little he could salvage for 200 cedis per bag instead of 1,500 cedis.
We can't do anything. We look up to God now. I will have to search for a loan to help me get back into business. If I don't get a loan, we thank God.
Many importers at the onion market count their loss. Mumuni Alabila has 2 trucks of onions locked up in Niger. It is unclear when these trucks will get to cross the border. He wants the ECOWAS to find a solution to the present situation.
We the onion trailers, we are get a bank loan and doing our business. When the cars block over there, it affected us more. So as now we don't know what we are going to do. We are appealing the government to do what he will do and get our goods to come. Some of our goods it's fall over there about 2 years now. So when we are here, some of the traders us here now. Some of us they are in hospital. 2 of my brothers they are in hospital because of their money collapse over there.
The onion retailers who have purchased the bags offloaded in the morning dip their hands through the onions poured on the ground in search for those in best shape. They find it difficult retrieving the good ones.
They are all rotten. We have paid them already. We pay for the onions before we get the opportunity to open the sacks. So we are incurring losses.
School fees
I bought 5 sacks and they are all rotten. If this continues like this, how do we take care of our children?
According to the traders, the locally cultivated onions are least preferred by consumers for diverse reasons. Some have nicknamed it Sobolo due to the red color. Here are other reasons some consumers shy away from the local variety.
It was very difficult to sell the local onions. The customers kept complaining.
Until this situation is curtailed, probably there's time to be shortage of onions on the market. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Well, after the meeting today, there's a raging debate amongst MPs, both on the Interior and Defence Committee as well as the Foreign Affairs Committee, over Article 40 of the 1992 Constitution and what the provision is regarding the deployment of an ECOWAS force. That's been the debate leading to the meeting abruptly ending in Parliament today. So let's get to the requirements of what it is that the article talks about. There you see it on your screens, Article 40, talking about the fact that in its dealings, and here talking about the country with other nations, the government shall first of all promote and protect the interest of Ghana. That's the first requirement. B talks about the need to seek the establishment of a just and equitable international economic and social order. The minority appears to be basing their arguments around point C, which talks about the need to promote and respect international law, treaties, obligations, and the settlement of each of these international disputes or controversies that may emerge, according to the minority, should be handled in a peaceful manner. Now, here's where the majority appears to be raising their concern. They're talking about point D, which gives President Akufo-Addo no other option than to contribute to the force, basically because of what he says, that the country must adhere to the principles enshrined in, or as the case may be, that aims to the ideals of, first of all, the Charter of the United Nations, the Charter of the Organization of the African Unity. We also have the Commonwealth, and 4 talks about the Treaty of the Economic Community of West African States and any other international organization which Ghana is a member of. That is where the majority appears to be citing their arguments, pointing to the fact that the president has the constitutional mandate. In fact, the president is helpless in their view in terms of opting out of this deployment of the military force. That meeting ended inconclusively, and will definitely bring you some updates as and when we have them. My colleague Jacqueline Ansumayebo engaged some Nigerians as well who have migrated to Ghana in search of greener pastures. Here's what we found.
In the bustling streets of Ghana, a group of Nigerians find themselves in precarious situation. Most of them are here begging for alms in the streets. Today, I'm with a couple of them to find out the reason why they are here and if they are willing to go back to Niger as a coup is currently ongoing in their country. I also have Mariama with me right now, and kindly ask her how about Ghana, how many years in here?
I've been here for 3 months. I'm here because we don't get food to eat back at Niger.
3 months.
In regards to the coup and the closing of border, what do you think about it? We have heard of the coup and the fighting, and we also have a lot of kids there. That's why we are here to get what we can back home. In entirety, what does she think about the coup which is ongoing in her country?
We
have heard of the coup and the fighting, and we also have a lot of kids there. That is why we are here to get what we can and take back home. If you people can help us with some money and food, we'll go back to Niger and support our children there.
Because of hunger,
why are you willing to go back if there's still hunger there?
Why?
This isn't our country, so regardless, we'll have to go back, but we just want to have enough money to take care of our kids when we get there.
What
brought you to Ghana? There's no food, money, nothing at all in Niger, so we came here to ask for help with food and money. In regards to the coup and the closing of border, what do you think about it?
Personally, no.
If I can't go back, I'm asking for help with some money to start a business or buy food stuff to feed my kids. If you have a chance, will you want to go back? We are from Niger, so if we have little money and we get to our border, we have our way to go through into the country. We will go, all of us.
Right, so I have another person here from Niger, Alima, and Alima said,
what brought you to Ghana? My husband is very sick back in Niger, and I have 11 kids. I'm the one who moves around to gather what I can and fend for the family. What do you think about the fight going on in Niger? We will still go back to our country, but we have to gather some money here first. We are the citizens there, and when we get to the border, we'll find our way through, as long as we have some money that we are taking back home.
So I also have Adiza here, who is also in the streets begging for alms. She's also here to share her experience as a Nigerian right inside Ghana. So Adiza say,
how long have you been in Ghana? 2 years.
Okay, 2 years.
What have you been doing in the past 2 years? Like we have all said, we are all here because there is no food back at home. I've not done anything aside begging, and even that, I don't go around to beg. I send my 3 children, and at times, they come with food or some little money.
Adiza, Coup.
What about the war back in Niger? What do you think about it? It's not exactly where I'm from in Niger. It's in a different town. So as for us, we are safe. We believe that when we get home, we'll be able to solve ourselves out once we have some money to take back. What did you do back in Niger? There's no job. We cut down firewood and give it to our children to sell in the market. When they go to the market and there's no sales, everyone sleeps hungry, but when there's sales, we cook and everyone at home gets food to eat.
I have Samdia here, who is 14 years old. She's also in the street right now, and from Niger. Now we want to have an interaction with her. Samdia, it's saying, how are you?
I'm fine.
You are fine. Okay. How long have you been in Ghana?
I've been here with my mother for 4 years. Do you go to school? No, I don't go to school. I stopped going to school back in Niger because my mom said there's no money. So I should cut down firewood and sell. If you had the chance to go back to Niger, would you? Yes, I'll go back with my mother. What are some of the experiences you've been through that will make you go back? We are 8 at home, and my mom brought us out to the street to beg for food and money. If you have the chance, will you go back to school? Yes, I will. What's that one thing you want to do when you grow up? I want to sell things on the road.
Just as you've heard from the Nigerians in the streets of Accra, they've shared some of their experiences and their thoughts on the current coup happening in their country. But if being given the opportunity to go back, they would gladly do so. For Joy News, Jacqueline Ansuma Yaboa.
And of course, there's the economic impact of all of this region situation in Niger. So let's get to it in terms of what you need to know about the economic implications as well. We've been trying to break that down for you, looking at some of the economies as you have it. There you find the Niger being, in terms of the poorest, top 10 poorest country, Niger ranking first there, then follows through with Chad. We have the Central African Republic, Burundi, Madagascar, Mali, Guinea, Mozambique, we have Benin and Ethiopia on that list for you. But then you have it, we're talking about an economy rating around $13.9 billion US dollars, and that's the economy that we are dealing with. And of course, we're looking at what you need to know about the top producers of uranium, because this country is rich when it comes to that resource. You have on the scale of 3 in terms of top 3 producers in Africa. They come second to that's Namibia. Namibia being the leading producer in terms of tons, and 5,400 on the average as of 2021. Niger follows through with some 2,642, and then South Africa also comes through with some 130,000 tons as of 2021. But you see that continuous decline in terms of how the country has been faring. You see the year-on-year the inflationary rates are not so helpful at all as of where the country finds itself, and that's of course raising a number of questions as to why ECOWAS would want to solve this problem militarily. But there's a need for us to also explore the security angles and what the experts have got to say about this very deployment. So we'll get to you shortly. Let's hear from Richard Kumato, who is a security analyst, joining the conversation because following today's meeting, it appears that the committees both on defense and also foreign affairs will be meeting again on the final take, but the president has committed to what it is that ECOWAS has decided. Richard Kumato, welcome to the polls. Let's take your thoughts on this deployment and also, first of all, the disagreements that we see taking place between both the majority side and the minority side. How do you feel that MPs should be approaching this, knowing that we are in a crisis? Well, Richard, are you with us? Okay, it appears we're having some challenge connecting with Richard Kumato there. He's a security analyst. He's back on. Richard, I was just asking the question about what needs to be done now, knowing that we're in a crisis. The call is that all our MPs have to be on one page, at least to support the president to deploy the forces if indeed that would be our national position. What's your take on this whole division in Parliament as to whether or not the president has the constitutional remit to go on?
Definitely, the president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. He has the right to deploy troops in our security interest or in our national interest. But it's also important that the parliamentarians who represent all of us in Parliament will have a bite on it, and they will need to agree as to the way forward. It's not a matter of who lose or who win, but we will need the input of the parliamentarians. And I think whoever is calling for that will be something I will support immensely.
And today, that meeting that we're seeing now between the National Security Minister, the Defense Minister, and also the Defense, as well as the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, do you feel that such engagements are necessary now, knowing that we are, of course, running out of time in terms of what the options are for the Ghanaian military?
No, it's not predominantly the choice for the Ghanaian military. It's an ECOWAS thing. And when you look at what is happening in Niger right now, the terms have changed a little bit drastically. They have appointed a civilian as a prime minister. They have appointed 21 people to the civilian to manage the country. So there's a level of urgency, but the troops have not been that. They have refused to listen.
Richard, it appears we're losing you intermittently. Can you make the point again, sir? Richard Kumato? We seem to be having a challenge with Richard Kumato there. He's a security analyst joining us. Richard, let's try one more time. Richard, can you hear me? Okay, we seem to have lost Richard Kumato there. You're watching the polls here on the Joy News channel. When we return, we'll talk about some more stories making the rounds here in the country. Please stay. And in a move aimed at enhancing revenue generation and promoting responsible gambling, the Ghana Revenue Authority is set to introduce a 10%